This is the classic case of watching until the end. Or, I don't know, like, this is what I feel like makes the reading vlog so good. I am eating my words. Hi, besties. Welcome to another book vlog, reading vlog. Today, we're reading Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. She's brand new, April of this year. It's been getting so much hype on TikTok. Now, I read this description and I wasn't super interested just by the description, but my friend read it and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a go. 4.7 stars on 139,000 reviews. The Goodreads girlies have steered me wrong in the past. Case in point from Blood and Ash. Now, I'm coming at you really late in the book, chapter 17 out of 29. This review, reading vlog, whatever you want to call it, has spoilers. So, if you're somebody who's like, I'm not sure if I want to read it, let me just give you a quick TLDR. And then we'll go into everything else from that point has spoilers. So, we have our main character, main homegirl Violet, and she's the daughter of a famous famous person in the military. And she basically forces her daughter into this dragon riding leg or arm of the military. Our homegirl Violet was not interested in doing this. She wanted to be a scribe, but Mama was like, no. This is like chapter 1 information. So it's a very dangerous part of the army. Like, everybody dies. You know, it's like 25% of the students make it out of their third year. So she's going in and she's like trying not to die. Day 1, like literally day 1, chapter 1, she meets this guy who's also mentioned in the back of the book. Xandon, I think his name is, like wants to kill her. Or is like given that vibes. So the book covers her journey on like entering this military school, trying not to die, being like kind of weak, kind of small, being targeted because of that, and you know, people believing that like she would drag down their unit, but also her mom did like some not cool things, and people are targeting her because of that. Everything from now on is spoilers. Okay. This book is so predictable. It kind of hurts a little bit. There is no way this book is going to get 5 stars from me. I'm interested enough to read the second book, but like there's nothing about this where I'm like, ooh, like gooped and gagged, as my bestie would say. There's nothing like surprising or shocking or like, oh my god. It's like not even all that suspenseful, because you know her and Xandon are going to get together at some point. If it's not in book 1, it's going to happen. I wouldn't describe what's happening between them as like sexual tension. She is interested in him, like she finds him attractive, which that whole dynamic of somebody who is like actively trying to harm you being like, you're so cute. I don't love that. In real life, if somebody's trying to harm me, I'm not going to be out here like, oh my god, your biceps are incredible. No. And what I feel like is happening between them two so far is maybe more like an intrigue. Like, he is like, he's kind of been more mysterious to her. Like, you know, he first wanted to kill her and then was like, I'm judging later on. He's like, I'm judging myself based on like not killing you. And there definitely seems to be, but there's like, I feel like there's other plot points. As an example, they know somebody in the army is like a bad guy and he's like a part of a resistance to bring them down. Something like that. But there's mysteriousness to him. And he also protects her at the threshing. And the whole Dain situation, I saw it coming from a mile away. Like, you can tell the relationship between them is not just friends. It's like people who've secretly crushed on each other for years. And I just finished the point where he kissed her and she's not interested. Now, I get why he would think that she would be interested in, because she would have been a year ago, 2 months ago, when they first met at this academy. Their whole relationship right from the beginning, I was like, there's no way this is going anywhere, because Rebecca introduced Xandon. And it just reminded me from the beginning of Katniss and Gale. I get Dain's desire to protect her, especially if he loves her, but I do agree with Xandon that he's not. For my Saturday Mouse girlies out there, Dain is trying to protect Violet in the same way that Tamlin was trying to protect Feyre. The like, run away from everything, don't do anything kind of vibe. Well, Tamlin wanted to take on all the burden, and like keep Feyre out of the dark. Ultimately, like, Tamlin didn't want to teach Feyre to fight or defend herself, which is, Dain didn't want Violet to do that either. He wanted her to run away, go to the scribe quadrant or whatever, and just like leave. And fundamentally, in Dain's perspective, that feels like he doesn't believe that she is capable of doing it. I do understand that you can think somebody is capable, but also not want them to take the risks. It just also feels a little Tamlin-esque when he's fully willing to take the risk for himself. It's okay for him to take the risk, but not okay for Violet to take the risk because he loves Violet. Why is it okay for him but not for her? Like, if she loves him, she would just let him do it. Like, he has to assume that. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I don't love that dynamic. And it would bug me personally if my so-called best friend was like, run away, pick one dragon, run away, do this. It's like every step of the way, I would probably feel at least a little bit like he doesn't believe in me, he doesn't think I could do it, and that would get into my head. Overall, I mean, I have just over 10 chapters left. I'm just feeling very lukewarm about this book. We all knew that she was going to make it, like she was going to get it to a dragon. We all knew it. And I did not see the 2 dragons coming. But it does make sense. And she obviously got like the strongest dragon. So there's that. We also knew that Xandon was going to be the love interest. Like, her mom is just a jerk. So nothing is new there. I also knew that Dain and Violet weren't going to get together. I honestly think that Dain and Violet are going to get pulled apart because there are already fractures in the relationship when Dain said that he would basically let Violet die when Xandon stepped in to, protect her. That would hurt me, that your so-called best friend is willing to maintain rules over your life. And then Violet has already kind of been taking more of Xandon's advice and like kind of following his line of thinking. I think more and more of that's going to happen, which is then going to isolate herself from Dain. Maybe they become like full-fledged enemies, I don't know, but I think that rift is just, it's already there whether or not Dain knows it, but I think it's just gonna crack wide open. And I do think though that the dragons being a mated pair I actually do like that plot point because it forces them together. By them, I mean Violet and Xandon, in a way that's not like your typical like kidnap her kind of plot point or something similar. So I will come back at you at the end. I do like the dragon component. I really do, more than I thought I would. I like the military setting more than I thought that I would because it's like kind of low-key school and I love the school setting. So we'll see. I'll probably come back to you at the end. And I'll see you then. This is the classic case of watching until the end, or I don't know, like, this is what I feel like makes the reading vlog so good. I am eating my words. I'm just gonna say it. I'm eating my words, okay? Fourth Wing. Last time we talked, I was 17 chapters in, but I thought the book was 29 chapters and it was 39 chapters. So I was like just at the halfway mark and I thought it was near the end, which so glad she didn't end it like right at that point where like they get their dragons and like they're graduating. Like it's, I'm glad she continued it to where she did. We all knew the Xandon plotline was coming. Like we did. I I'm like not mad about it, so that's fine. I'm really glad that Violet stood up to Dain in his overprotecting ways. Okay, we just need a little bit of a what was that, and then we can get into what I loved about it and like the ending. That that ending, so good. Okay. One of the hallmarks of romance books, but also like fantasy books, the main love interest has to be nicknamed. Always, which is always gotta be nicknamed. Violence. This man does not stop, like, it does not shut up about her being violent. Also, this like violent love interest trope is just like, okay, I get it. You're cute. You throw daggers. Like, I love how violent you are. There was a book I was reading recently. Oh, it was It was from Blood and Ash when Castile was like, I love how violent you are. Kind of same deal. But then he just calls her violence and does not stop calling her violence and just keeps calling her that and not Violet. Like shit is going down and this man is out here being like, oh, you're violent. Like he's nicknamed her violence. I feel like there's a time and a place, you know? Okay, so I want to talk about like one other thing. Violet is 20, and fantasy authors love to pair the young woman with an older man, like, you know, the 100-year-old immortal fae or something. I'm very happy to report that Xandon is 23. This is an age appropriate relationship. Thank you, Rebecca. But also, the fantasy girlies also love to make the young main character, young female main character, as somebody who's never had sex before. We kind of talked about the like virginity purity culture in previous vlog, and I did talk about how it could be nice to see your own views or experiences reflected. I do also think by having so many books with main characters who are, let's say, around the age of 20, who are virgins, also feels a little purity culture. Like, there are plenty of young people out there who are 20 who've had sex and plenty who haven't. So, I do like Rebecca's treatment of like a young person who has had sex before and is like interested in sex and is like, there's not that kind of level of like maybe embarrassment or shame or things about that. Just like a young person who's had sex, enjoys it, is like, yeah, I'm into it, and then kind of continues that perspective throughout the book. When we're talking about a multi-book fantasy series, you know that whatever politics you're introduced in book one is just the tip of the iceberg. Like this book being about Dragon School is really not about the Dragon School. I mean, it is at some point, but you know that you're going to get more information. You're going to get launched into the politics of the world. You're just not sure like where exactly it's going to go. It happened, and I'm very glad about it that we got introduced to the politics and that there's like the venom and the wyverns and that whole thing. I I appreciate it, and of course Xandon is part of the resistance. Of course. But I feel like Violet's reaction to him keeping stuff from her is like, yes, be mad. I think she has an absolute reason to be mad. And like part of her anger and frustration is coming from the fact that she was so open about like herself and like giving all these things to him, but he could not reciprocate. And even like he realized that he loved her and just like didn't trust her enough to tell her, or like didn't reciprocate as much as she did. The end of the book, she's like, I can't be with somebody I don't trust. I I get the trust being shaken. I get it. But is that enough to walk away from somebody? I'm not convinced that it is. Unless Rebecca does something really wild and kind of out of pocket, those two are going to end up together again. Now, the ending sequence. Dain is a motherfucker, okay? That guy, I don't know. Did you feel like he read her thoughts? Like, did you see that coming? Like, when that was happening, did you know? Because I didn't. I wasn't expecting it, and I wasn't like picking up on those cues. So the fact that he was instrumental in setting them up, it's kind of shit. But I also wonder how much he knew about his dad's plan. And then also, did his dad slash any part of that military orchestrate the attack on them? Because I feel like that was the implication. Dain is just, he is garbage for that. Dain is garbage for that. For being part of that at all. I feel like they're just gonna be like, I'm sorry, I didn't know what was gonna happen. Dude, you still set them up. And he's just he's not the right person for her. He was like clinging onto her for dear life, but then also invaded her privacy in that way. Garbage. I don't know like what he expected, like how he expected her to react once she found out. Maybe he assumed that she never would, but Dane's shit for doing that. The whole Liam and the dragon situation. Rebecca has some big ass balls for doing that. Are we all upset? Yes. Like, how dare you, Rebecca? How dare you kill off Liam? How dare you? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. How could you not be sad reading about that? I'm kind of without words. And then the biggest plot twist of them all, Brennan is alive. Did you know? Like, did you guess that? I was shooketh. Okay, first Liam, I don't know, maybe this was all a distraction ploy. First Liam, and you're like, oh my god, you're all emotional about it. And then Brennan is just like leader of the resistance, or at least part of the resistance. I don't know if he's the leader, but he's definitely part of it. Well, he says he is. So, duh. Did you see it coming? Did you see it coming? I told you at the beginning of the vlog that Xandon was involved in something, and there's that mystery to him. Now we know. This is like a 4.5 star. There are, there's some of the classic fantasy tropes, which I wasn't a fan of. It was like 3-star territory. But the fact that she got me so emotionally involved with Liam and his fucking dragon, and then I just feel like the turns at the end were great. They were great. Maybe some of my naivete as a reader and like the whole Brennan thing, I knew somebody was gonna die in that whole dragon sequence, but I didn't think she would do it to Liam. So, to talk about my rating, the end was great. What contributes to low ratings for me? Characterization, bad pacing, questionable consent. This book was kind of long, and there was, like a bit of that slow-ish pacing in the middle, but I wouldn't call her pacing problematic. Like, you can't have literally every second of a book being lightning speed going off. So I think her pacing was great. I did like the characterization. There was like some corny elements of the whole relationship with Xandon. I wasn't a fan of the Dain kind of plotline, but I feel like his desire to like cling on to something that he just needs to let go served the plot near the end. And also coming off the back of From Blood and Ash, when there's questionable consent at literally every turn of that book, I'm happy to report that we're basically fine in the consent realm as far as I'm able to tell. The only questionable consent is when Dain kisses Violet. Like, I think they're like in the middle of the field, kind of out of nowhere. He's not like asking her first. That would be the only kind of area. So I'm pleasantly surprised by this book, and I'm excited for the next release in November. What a great turn after the first part of this vlog, and then basically hate reading from Blood and Ash for 4 books. That's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this vlog, and I can't wait to catch you in the next one. Bye.